I'm happy to have a fellow transformed corporate to service being here with
Well,
me.
thank you for saying that. And I want to make the point, my transformation is nowhere near done.
Mm.
So I know when we see someone who's successful, and I know you mentioned #1 on Google for life coaching. Hey, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of building what was at that time the world's largest coaching business. But when people see successful people, it's easy to think, oh, you've got it all together. You have everything worked out. Oh my God, no. I was pretty comfortable in my bubble for quite some time until I came to Mexico 10 days ago and during a pandemic. And I'll tell you,
Mm.
I've been weeping, I've been stressed, I've been furious. I've got a reconciliation process to do with one of my best friends this afternoon because I feel hurt. So I don't want to pretend by any stretch of the imagination that my work is done. I sometimes learn as much as my clients in a coaching session. I'll say something and then I'll go, "Oh, that's good. You could use some of that yourself, David."
I am so grateful for your transparency. And honestly, one of the big reasons I started this show was to shine a light on some of the bumps and bruises we get along the way, along our journey, whether it's in business or in life, because oftentimes all we get to see is the shiny veneer that other people kind of hold up as a reflection of what success looks like. And that can leave us feeling alone or like something's wrong with us on our pathway. And this show was really created for a way to say, look, it doesn't have to look perfect. In fact, I've never heard of a journey where there wasn't tumultuous ups and downs. And it's really about the choices we make to get through that journey and to continue to grow and to continue to share and to continue to unfold. Um, I mean, you've had some pretty big bumps along the way. If you don't mind us getting personal for a minute.
Go wherever you want to go.
All right, awesome. So a paragliding accident, for starters, that fractured your spine. Did I read that right?
Yeah, yeah. Part of being unstoppable and being courageous, of course, by definition, is taking risks. And so I think when I was a kid, I never stood up to bullies, and I've regretted it to this day. I regret that I didn't just punch the bully on the nose and take a beating. I wish I'd done it. I would have taken a beating, but I wouldn't have had regret for 40 years. So that stuck with me, and I'm no longer willing for that to happen. So I'm kind of afraid of heights. I think most sensible people are. So I got into hang gliding, and then later in life, I got into paragliding, which always seemed like a stupid thing to do to me because a paraglider can collapse. And it does. If you fly inland where it's quite tumultuous, you will get either a partial collapse or at times you can get a full collapse. And that always seemed like a silly thing to me.
So what's the difference, a hang glider and a paraglider? What's the,
The hang glider is a triangle and it's a fixed wing. It's got an
yeah,
aluminium frame or like a metal frame, and
yeah.
it's not going to collapse. It's also very heavy. You can't carry it around very easily. Whereas a
Right.
paraglider is more like a parachute. And
Oh, oh, right. It's like you can almost steer it. It's the big kind of curved. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
curved wing over your
Yeah. Yeah.
head. But the thing is, it's designed to help you stay up. So if you can find hot air or air rising somewhere, you can go up. And I've stepped off a mountain in Nepal solo and gone up to 10,000 feet above sea level under a storm cloud over the mountain ranges. So I feel like I've truly lived, but of course there are risks. And in Colombia, I had a collapse and I was so low to the ground. Thankfully, I was about 10 or 15 feet above the ground when I didn't control the wing properly, and I fell 10 or 15 feet under my butt. And
Mm.
so it was a mild fracture. It's like the best fracture you can have. It's a mild compression
Right.
fracture. And I've actually had two now. I had one from that and one from parkour. a parkour accident where, again, I fell 6 feet under my butt. Now, one thing I've learned from this, because I remember I'm an actuary, and an actuary does risk assessment.
Yeah.
I've learned that it's we don't want to play too safe, because then on your deathbed you look back and say, oh boy, I wish I'd spoken up to that
Mm,
person, or I wish I'd asked that girl out, or I wish I'd gone and spoken on that stage. I don't want anyone to have that feeling. But I've learned the hard way, you also want to assess the risks, mock them up, and don't take on too much risk. So, for example, I won't smoke cigarettes. That's too much risk for me. I no longer
mm,
paraglide because I've touched the sky and I got away with it. So I've decided I don't need to do that anymore. I wear a helmet and I put the seatbelt on. I wear a helmet when I paraglide and I put the seatbelt on in a car. Well, there's just no profit in not wearing a seatbelt. So find your edge. And you asked about the 30%.
yeah.
This is where the 30% comes in. I don't, I think it's a great idea to write down on a piece of paper what you would do if you were fearless. I think it's good to be aware of that. But I'm not saying you should then go and do all of that overnight. You don't have to go and call the bully from high school and say, hey, I forgive you now. You don't have to go to your partner and say, hey, I broke our agreement. I made out with someone 10 years ago. And you don't have to face all of your fears at once. You don't have to ever face them. But once you're aware of them, I'm saying, how about you just be 30% more courageous, and you find the sweet spot for you that's at your edge, but don't go beyond your edge.